Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to the latest edition of the Canon Film Club, where we talk about all things Canon films. And today we celebrate the glory of the 1989 post-apocalyptic dystopian science fiction cyberpunk martial arts action movie. It's a long line. That is Cyborg. How many genres can you fit in one movie? How many genres can one movie contain?
Oh, man.
Well, what's even more odd is that it was two movies to begin with. Two different movies.
Definitely going to get into that, Tom, my friend. You're absolutely correct. And as IMDb would describe this movie, a martial artist hunts a killer in a plague-infested urban dump of the future, or San Francisco, as it would be described today.
A little bit of Mad Max, a little bit of Blade Runner, a little bit of Jean-Claude Van Damme, and somehow it's still called Cyborg.
That's right.
A little bit of Waterworld, don't forget that.
Waterworld. Waterworld.
There's a lot of wet fights.
So
when you're wet fighting.
So this is the movie we're discussing. Oh no, wait a minute. Wrong movie. Not at all. Definitely not that one. But I would like to. I mean, we have a fantastic bunch of chat people in the chat already. We'll definitely be calling you guys out in a few minutes. But we also have a fantastic, stellar lineup of guests today. I'm so excited to have them all here. First of all, I'd like to welcome back founder, member, and regular contributor, the very wonderful Austin Trunick. Austin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
My pleasure, mate. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of your first two volumes of the Canon Film Guide, which, of course, Cyborg doesn't feature in. So
No, we're in uncharted territory for me.
Yeah, is it coming in volume 3?
Yes, that's when the all the ones I haven't gotten to yet, all the late 80s, early 90s stuff.
Yeah,
We'll
when
find
things
in
were
there.
teetering on the edge a little bit in canon, perhaps.
Yeah, this I call this their direct-to-video era. Except for save for a few big ones
Yeah.
that were in there, the Cyborg, Bloodsport, a few others, but a lot of stuff that was you would find for the first time on cable or video, skip theaters.
Yeah,
They were out of money.
That's right. There were still a couple of hits in here, like Cyborg made some money. But yeah, things were getting a little bit ropey, but still, as you say, a couple of hits, Cyborg being one of them. I'd like to do this at the start of the show rather than the end, but obviously we mentioned the Canon film guides, and you can get those on, well, amongst other places, you can get them on Amazon. There's volumes 1 and 2. Absolutely wonderful books and full of a great.
Are they going to be printed for a physical again?
Yeah, they should be back in stock if they're not.
Because
Right
I see
now,
the Kindle, and I'm like, I definitely like to actually, own the actual book itself because I've not actually read these.
Oh, they'll go out of stock for a few weeks at a time, but yeah, they keep reprinting it. So just
Okay,
keep an
I
eye.
will hold out. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, they're well worth it, Nick. I can assure you. There's
I believe it.
A gold mine of information. Thank you, Austin, for providing me with just about everything I say in these shows.
Well, we couldn't do this without Austin, really, and today I'm not going to be here for very long, but I'm glad we've got Austin here to leave you guys in such good hands because, yeah, I'm sure he knows plenty about the making of this film.
Oh yeah,
or the deconstruction of 2 other films to become this film. I guess.
Right.
Indeed, we're going to milk Austin dry on that one.
Yeah.
And here's Austin's Twitter feed at Canon Film Guide. So please check that out as well. Always, I love the old adverts from newspapers that you post of what's on in cinemas in the 80s, and some of them I remember because they're in British. A lot of British cinemas show a lot of Canon.
I haven't thrown a lot of those up there lately.
Yeah, they're really interesting, mate. So check that out, everybody. But obviously, we do also have our wonderful friend, Mr. Thomas Connors, is here. How are you,
For
buddy?
a short time, yes. I just wanted to say hello, stop in, make my appearance on the film club. I wish I could stay longer today, but like I said, I think you all are in good hands, and this is quite a movie. This movie, the weird thing is the story behind the film is probably more entertaining than the film itself in actuality. I know this is kind of a popular Van Damme movie, and I've never understood why.
Yeah.
It's not that great.
So this is where it sits in your pantheon then. You're not the hugest of fans? Not a big fan?
Not a big fan of this one.
No.
I'm more of a fan of the story behind it, and the fact that if you're a fan of like Masters of the Universe, especially the movie, you can see that they reuse a bunch of the costumes here. And not to spoil too much, but this was meant part of the other 2 films that were deconstructed to make this. One of them was Masters of the Universe Part 2. So some of the sets and I believe a lot of the costumes and other things were reused in this sense, but none of the story, from my knowledge, was reused. But funnily enough, and this is where I can come in and probably add my 2 cents here, and then probably mosey on off here before too long, is that the ideas that were kind of created for Masters of the Universe Part 2 actually popped up in a different film later on, another canon-esque film, let's say, in Captain America.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a big parallel to what, because also the director of Captain America, the late Albert Pyun, was going to direct Masters of the Universe Part 2. And in that script, it was going to be almost completely on Earth. And He-Man is following Skeletor to Earth. But Skeletor has now infiltrated Earth and disguised himself as, I believe, a senator or something like that. But they steal that whole storyline in Captain America, the 2000, or not 2000, 1990, whatever movie it was.
Right.
And so that part was kind of stolen for the Red Skull. So I think a lot of that was in the He-Man script. They just repurposed it for Captain America.
Canon films with the sum of many parts very often.
And then you'll learn here soon what the other film was. I don't want to spoil that yet. I'll leave that all to Austin to talk about.
So I believe you're heading off to MI7 today.
Well, I was going to, but I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do that. I've got some other things that kind of came up here, so we'll see. But I'll see it eventually.
Well, I'm glad you're here, mate, and please stay as long as you can. And if you got,
I'll stick around for a few more minutes, but through intros and all that stuff.
And obviously, I mean, we all know and love Tom, but if you're not, and if you're not, well, I know and love you. So that's. But for those who don't know, obviously, Tom is a huge component of Midnight's Edge, Midnight's Edge After Dark, which I'm proud to be associated with. And obviously the very wonderful Mead Radio, which inspired me to do my own little radio thing too. Nowhere near as slick as Tom's though. So please check those out, everybody. Oh, you've done a lot of wonderful stuff there, mate.
But it's just as smooth.
Just as smooth, yes.
Just as smooth.
Yes.
It's a silky smooth sound.
I've gotten the feel for both of their channels. I've gotten the feel of both of them.
Great. No, thanks for being here, Tom. But we do have a couple of other guests to the show. And we'll get they'll have the chance to plug their shit at the end. Because otherwise we'll be here for 4 hours and not even talk about the movie.
Right.
It could be a culture casino show in that sense.
Oh,
Look out.
So, Nicky, my great friend Nick Visor, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, 70s? Happy to be here. It's about time I was on one of these. Like I listen to us. I'm doing stuff at home on Monday, so I'm just like, it's about fucking time I'm here. So what's up, chat? How are you all doing? I'm sorry to talk about Cyborg because I disagree with the name of this movie title. As much as I enjoy it, the movie should just be called
Right.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that should be the title.
I was trying to count how many words were in the movie. I'm like, there has to be about maybe 120 words in this movie.
Yeah.
I wrote that in my notes here. The main martial arts style used in this movie is roaring.
Yeah, roaring at everything. Yeah.
Maybe Dragon Ball Z got their inspiration from freaking this movie to do all that screaming because these guys didn't even power levels to scream.
It's roaring and F-bombs.
Roaring
Yeah.
and F-bombs.
Honestly, Nick, it's probably the other way around on that. They probably stole the screaming from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. But thanks very much, Nick, for joining us because you're good
for
enough
having
to let
me.
me on Toxic Tuesday. It's well overdue you being on here. And also, of course, we have another wonderful guest, our great friend who runs a fantastic show called the Cotton Council, which I'm also
Fantastic
proud to be a
show.
part of as a
Holy
fleshy,
shit.
and some of my relatives appear as puppets occasionally. The great Jolly.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's good to be here, 70s. I love this show, and I feel like I can actually add a little bit to it besides, my cotton experience with Canon. But I think Cyborg is an amazing film. I loved Bloodsport when it came out, so I was really anticipating his next movie. When did this come out? Like 88, 89?
89, I think. Was that right,
Yeah.
Austin? 89?
That's correct. 89.
So I was about 11 years old. So this was a very impressionable movie when it came out as a young youngster. And man, I can't wait to talk about it with you guys because unlike Tom, I absolutely love this film. It's cheesy, but it's just fun popcorn flick that you can just kick back and basically turn your brain off. You know what I mean?
I don't
yeah.
hate it, but it's not in my top 5 Van Damme movies. That's
No.
all. It's like, it's like.
What would your top 5 be, Tom?
Probably
or at least
like
one.
Cyborg is not in it, but I would say like Time Cop. It's probably
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
All right.
I was always partial to Universal Soldier
Universal
was good.
Soldier, yeah.
Lionheart was a good one from memory. The one Death Warrant was always a good one. I
Death
liked.
Warrant, which was almost a canon. I think I'm
Yeah.
right in saying, Austin.
Mhm.
Hang on, let's get you off. Let's get Jolly off the screen.
Well,
He's getting-
Although
I'm
he's
sexy.
pretty
You can leave it on me
improved.
if you want. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, I think Death Warrant Austin was a sort of
Is that 5 yet?
semi-canon.
It got picked up by them
Kickboxer.
in a lot of places. Yeah, Kickboxer.
Yeah.
had some
Kickboxer's fun.
inspiration.
If not, Bloodsport or Kickboxer would probably
And Double
top off the
Impact, of
list.
course.
Yeah, that was all right. Yeah.
But
I'm
yeah,
trying to think. There's another one I really like.
Hard
but I'm trying to
Target.
remember.
Universal Soldier, probably.
Hard
I did
target.
say
Yeah,
Universal
yeah.
Soldier already. I did.
Did
say.
you? Did you? Okay.
Yeah, trying to think of one.
There's some gems.
There was one
out
from
there.
that Lionheart era that I liked, and I
good.
can't remember.
The Quest.
Yeah.
Quest.
Maybe, I don't know, not
Maybe
that
the
one. But,
Quest.
no, I like him a lot, but this is just one of my favorite ones of his. It's fun, but it's kind of a weird hodgepodgey movie.
It is.
We're definitely going to talk about that because it is a sum of many parts. Just also though, like to welcome my regular friends and panelists who loyally stick by me despite the physical and emotional abuse. And Puritus, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, and as a black metal fan, physical, emotional abuse, no big deal.
Oral abuse.
CD, it's just abuse, so it's all well and good.
Oral abuse, I think, is more the
Don't be
ORAL or AUAL?
AUR. Also, our great.
Gotta be a little bit more specific.
A little bit more specific, yeah. Oral abuse does count too in black metal, both kinds, I think. They've got both kinds of abuse, like they've got both kinds of
We got
music,
both
country
kinds of
and
oral here.
country and western. Dustin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, mate. Are you a fan of the movie?
I haven't seen it since we first got cable, when I was in middle
I'm a
school. So I
bigger
went
fan
back to
of
rewatch
Dustin's
it last
shirt.
night. What's up?
No, he's in
I'm a bigger
Hawaii.
fan of Dustin's shirt than this movie. I mean, look at that.
I never saw him as a surfer, but there you go.
Hey man,
That's
it's
a badass
badass.
shirt.
He
That's
must
what I
have
like to call a
he was
club
watching
shirt.
Point
It's
Break
easy.
after this. He was watching Point Break right after Cyborg.
I'm going surfing right after this, but
That's it.
so I went to rewatch this movie last night, and Chandler was asleep, so I was watching, and I had it turned down low, closed captioning on, and I had to watch a good amount of this movie on mute because it was just like, oh, I'm like, there's
What
nothing
Nick's
else.
saying, you're
being
not
said.
missing anything. There's only like
Yeah.
10 lines of dialogue.
And that's just the women. So, yeah, thanks for being here, buddy. Keto Simple, check the channel out. We'll definitely give you guys a chance to plug it towards the end. But last and by no means least, of course, my great friend Joe from Joe's Atmosphere. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. How are you today, buddy?
I'm not that bad, all things considered. I'm doing what I love. So what's wrong? What could be bad?
I hear
about
you.
that?
I know you need to get your back fist because I missed you in Dallas, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a great deal better, but at least there's some progress on the medical front. So we'll see. Could be a year before it's sorted.
God, I hate to hear that.
Yeah, you could just push me around in a wheelchair.
Yeah, just get on the plane, man. I'll push you around. No
you can
problem.
get to the front of the line.
There you go.
Yeah, you get to board the plane first. Come on.
You get the best parking spot. I mean, come on, man.
So, yeah, but good to have you here as always, buddy. So the chat is absolutely on fire already. Thanks everyone for being here. We are over on Rumble too, and I'm just keeping an eye on where we go in the entertainment side there in terms of up the page. But here on YouTube, we have a great selection of people. Now, please do that begging thing. Hit the like button, share the stream out, all that good stuff. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. All helps defeat the algorithm, as they say. And, I need all the help I can get. So Blair de Blair is here. He was here early, in fact. So good to see you, my friend. Our great wrench, our moderator, not the only one, but he's the guy, D. Bud Martin. Nice to see you, my friend. We got, is that Dead House or Dead Louse?
Looks like Dead Louse.
Dead Louse.
Unless I
don't
can't
know if
spell.
I know that name, but welcome to the show, Dead Louse.
Yeah,
we have
Dead Louse. Nice to meet you.
We have Mon Ami, good name, Mon Ami Christian Delorme, who did a nice Rumble. Christian did a nice Rumble only stream with me last week. Just the two of us. It was good fun.
Nice.
Cool.
Although I think somebody else joined in, probably Joe. I can't
Two
remember.
Canadians rumbling in.
No, it
front
wasn't me. I was
of
busy
the
last
trade.
week, man.
Yeah, two Canadians moaning
Rumble.
about Korean movies. That's
Oh,
what I
it
was
definitely
talking
wasn't
about.
me. I stay away from your Korean stuff.
I was
dude.
talking about
Yeah.
Korean movies. So
Mhm.
Oakley Vandal is here. Great to see you, Oakley. His favorite Van Damme movie, and there is a poll in the chat
Oh,
for
shit.
your
Oh.
favorite canon Van Damme movie.
Oh, it has to be specific. So Street
Yeah.
Fighter is out.
Street Fighter is out.
Yeah.
It was very specific.
He was
about
in
which ones.
Breakin'.
Oh, You want to see him in Breaking? Hang
That's
on.
right. I forgot all about that.
Busting a move.
Totally,
He's got the
totally
wrestling tights
spaced
on.
that out.
He
Totally
rocking the
spaced
tight
that out.
shorts. He's giving them the Van Damme.
Busting
Yeah,
a
he's
move.
giving the whole Van damage.
And I don't think
Was his name RVD? Is that what it was?
well, he dances in
RVD,
Kickboxer too, doesn't
damn
he,
it.
Austin? Isn't he?
He does,
dancing?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of his,
I think at
breaks
that
out some of his
point,
dance moves.
yeah, Breaking, he hadn't really attracted the attention of the Globus and Golan yet. This is he wasn't
He-
still.
Yeah, he hung around a lot too. He's also
Say it depends on which
in-
version of the story you believe, right, Austin?
yeah. I've actually that's it in volume 3. I got Van Damme's version.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so I'm gonna trust his. It's not quite as exciting as Menachem's often repeated version.
Okay, well, he does the roundhouse over the head, kick over the head version, doesn't he?
Yeah. But
Save
I
it
mean,
for the book.
yeah, he's around a lot. He was in Breakin'. He did stunts on Missing in Action 2. He like carried Chuck Norris's like martial arts like warm up bags.
Are you saying he
around.
was the Jai Courtney of canon films?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Wow.
Or the
That's-
Sam Worthington of canon?
Worthington trumps Courtney any day, I think, as an actor, in my opinion. But-
Well, I'm just saying because those are two actors they just tried to marry. Or Taylor Quiche, they just forced them into their existence. Like, yeah,
that's right. They willed them into existence. So
'cause that's kind of what they were doing with Van Damme over there at Canon. Like the true story, right, Austin, is like they kept trying to find a spot for him, and they knew they wanted to use him in something, but they just hadn't quite caught on to what yet. And then, yeah, eventually just came around. Kickboxer was like the thing that really set it off, if I remember right. Right? Was it Kickboxer or Bloodsport?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. Wait, I couldn't remember. I get them two, both of them mixed up all the time. My bad. But yeah,
Boxer came after that.
So
Yeah,
perfect- No, go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
I mean the version that is probably the most accurate is he moved to LA. He saw Canon. He knew that these guys were making movies around Chuck Norris and other martial artist stuff that he had done, and he just started going to their offices 3, 4, or 5 times a week and sitting in the lobby. That's the story of how like Van Damme the start to his career, and so that's how I end up with we need extras and Breakin'. Like you're sitting around out here trying to get a meeting, trying to become a star. Like get in the van, we'll put you in this scene. You have Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris comes to the office one day, and Jean-Claude just goes up and it's like, hey, I'll show you my kicks, show you everything, and Chuck brings them to the Philippines for Missing in Action 2, and there's some great footage of a German documentary crew going to do a feature on Chuck Norris, and it's very distracting because he's showing how he's working out, and the whole time like Van Damme's holding the bag for him and like spotting him on the weights, and he was Chuck's like personal assistant on that. Ended up doing stunts for Aaron Norris's stunt crew on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then finally, I mean, he just got tired of waiting around, and then finally Menachem's like, come up to my office. We'll find something for you. And it became Bloodsport.
Open the drawer, rummage through it. Oh, look, what's
Yeah.
this?
yeah. What's Chuck Norris or
It's cast off. Yeah.
cast-offs? Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Mhm. So, David Glenn, yes, that is Tom. That is the Tom Connors.
For a short period of time, yes,
Yeah,
I'm here.
yeah.
I'm
Then
sorry,
he's going to
my
become
brief
something
appearance
else.
today.
He's only Tom Connors for a short period, and he'll transition.
Oh,
So
Lord.
that is Tom Connors. We're always proud.
Then
to
I will
have
be
Tom here.
Tamika.
What, the Japanese electronic keyboard artist Tamika, or a different
Sure,
one?
why
Well, that was
not?
Tomita. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Tamika.
Yeah, so lots of great people. Just trying to highlight a few more. If I miss you,
we got to
my
finish.
apologies.
Did we finish introducing everybody yet?
I think we did, didn't we? Did I
Yep,
do everybody?
you got
Did
everybody.
we get everybody? Okay.
Yes,
If
sir.
I missed you, it's because you're not important.
Oh,
So
well.
don't worry. Yeah, a lot of people in the chat, and we will try and catch up with you all as we go. Unfortunately, I think I'm the only one that can highlight chats unless Imp can do it. So if I'm distracted, it's not because I'm ignoring
No,
it. It's
I can't.
because
So, I mean, maybe I
I'm
guess
old and dumb.
a good place to start with this movie would be kind of the financial situation Canon was in at this time. You think, Austin?
It would.
'Cause I think that's
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
catalyst for this whole thing, really, if you think about it.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah, the whole thing behind Masters and Spider-Man, Austin, and all
Yeah,
that.
it's a way to really use up some money that they'd already sunk into these two other projects that they didn't have the money to make at that point anymore. And it was Spider-Man, and Masters of the Universe 2. These were the two movies that were going to be shot back to back. The way that Albert was going to shoot Spider-Man, I love his idea of how he would have done it, but he was going to shoot 2 weeks of all the Peter Parker stuff, all the stuff before he gets bit by a spider, and then he would release the actors. He would release all the main actors, and whoever they would find to play Spider-Man was going to go for 6 weeks and lift weights, probably take some steroids, get ripped. And so when he came back 6 weeks later,
while they were shooting Masters of the Universe 2, right?
Yes, while they were shooting Masters of the Universe 2 with a lot of the same actors, and that all the like side actors, all the bad guys that you see in Cyborg were all slated to be like side characters in Spider-Man and Masters. And so they would be able to keep the same people there. And then when they were finished with Masters, they would shoot the last 4 weeks of Spider-Man and get all the stuff of him in the costume. And yeah, so the canon got to this point, and they were leading into making both these movies were pretty far ahead to the point where they started building sets. This was shot out in Wilmington, North Carolina, at Dino De Laurentiis' studio, and they had shipped all the costumes and all these things from Master Universe over there already, and they had started building sets. There's sets that kind of were repurposed that you see in this movie that were going to be the Daily Bugle for Spider-Man, and Canon basically didn't have the money to make either of those movies, and they said, well, we already have this stuff. We have the costumes, we have these sets, we have all of these actors who are already in the area, people that have been cast that were nearby, and what can we do with it? We also have Van Damme, who is currently Bloodsport's doing very well. We never expected. We have a second film. We have him on contract for it. So what can you do? And Albert really came up with a script and a lot of it for this in like over a weekend. And they just rolled with this instead. There's some great advertising. Yeah.
Yeah, the artwork as usual is damn good.
There's some great early pre-sales because they were shooting this movie and the plans weren't really fully formed yet, but Canon was needed obviously to go sell it. So there's some beautiful, just crazy post-apocalyptic ads, early ones that don't look anything like what's going on in the movie. But that's how little they knew when they were trying to, squeeze a little bit more cash out of this because they were no longer delivering Masters 2 or Spider-Man.
But just for a visual aid for those who are curious, like, okay, so here's the main bad guy from Cyborg. He was wearing Blade's outfit from Masters of the Universe, as you can see there. Yeah,
see a bit closer.
Yeah, I zoomed in a little bit there. Sorry.
And it does have a very distinctive style when you look at it, and it's a style that doesn't seem to quite fit. Yeah, it's a plague-ridden post-apocalyptic world, but why is everybody not wearing normal clothing that was left over?
Right. Yeah, and that's just an example. That's just one example, right?
He raided some museum somewhere. That's all.
Yeah, but still, no, thanks for showing that, Tom. That's good. We do have stills from the movie to come later, and we might see some more of that. But yeah, it's interesting, just the canon way. Let's take these bits left over. Things didn't work out, and let's make something new out of it. And of course, Albert Payne was the right guy to take control of that. One of the go-to
well,
guys.
And the ingeniousness of even before, like this is like 10 years before Castaway, right?
Yeah,
basically. And he's got the idea of taking his actor, filming them when they're scrawny, sending them on the treadmill, like Austin was saying, and then when you come back, it's the opposite. But it's he's all built up because that's how they did Castaway. They did it the opposite. They filmed the end parts and the wrapper, or they filmed the wraparound part of Castaway when before Tom Hanks went and lost a bunch of weight. So it was the opposite. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's the same kind of situation. Yeah.
So, as you say, shot in Wilmington, North Carolina. I didn't realize that was Dino De Laurentiis' place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, Canon kind of moved in and rented it out for most of the year.
Yeah,
well, didn't Canon pick up didn't they pick up a few Dino De Laurentiis like they did with Death Wish, and wasn't there a couple other their properties they picked up?
Yeah, they were buying stuff left and right, and Dino kind of ran out of steam with his studio before Canon did, so they jumped on some things that were in development at different phases.
Didn't Austin the Death Wish? I think we talked about it in that show, but the basically Canon pretended they were going to make the movie, and Dino said, "Well, you're going to buy these rights then."
Yeah, Dino had his lawyers strong arm him, get all the money they could because he had no plans to make another Death Wish.
Well, and that was their own fault for doing it the way they did too. Like if they had just went to Dino and tried to get the rights, it would have probably cost them half of what it ended up costing him in the end, probably.
Yeah, this image is one of their, as you were saying, Austin, the sort of pre-production type stuff and selling of the movie.
Better than anything in the movie.
Yeah, and it shows the actual cyborg as opposed to Van Damme.
Yeah, the one shot of the cyborg.
One shot of the cyborg. But it does have the tagline, "He's the first hero of the 21st century, and he's our only hope."
And that's not a he up there.
No.
That's a she, baby.
Well, you never know. It's a cyborg.
Well, and this is also at the
Like
time
the
where they were
Jaws of
making a lot of
cyborg
these.
movies.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bert. What'd you say?
I was going to say, I was like, this is like the Jaws of cyborg movies. You never see the cyborg.
Oh, yeah, no
That's
kidding. Well, that was one of the jokes I was going to make, a cyborg movie without a cyborg in it, basically, through the whole movie.
But yeah, I love the pre-production. It's in post-production. It's definitely been made.
This was also at the time where a lot of these guys, especially Cannon and oh god, I just forgot his name. The guy who made New Concord pictures and all that stuff. Corman, yeah, we're making a lot of Mad Max ripoffs. Why? Because they were cheap and easy to make.
Yeah,
you just take a bunch of buff dudes to the fucking desert,
find an unused building site. Find an unused building site.
Yeah, exactly. Or a demolished building. You're good to go. It's cheap, easy, quick.
Yeah. I don't know. It's great. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and Tom, and that you're not particularly fond of it, and that certainly
it's not that I'm not fond of it. It's just it's not one of the better Canon films of the time. Yeah.
It's not, but I just have an attraction to these movies.
Oh, I understand it.
Mainly because I like post-apocalyptic stuff and dystopian stuff, but also just I love the B moviness of it. Hell, it's only 82 minutes long.
It's watchable.
It's short an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost short enough to be a short movie.
That was the thing you could do back then. You could have your movies be anywhere between 75 to 90 minutes. Obviously, there would be an exception, like tomorrow's movie Invasion USA being 107. But yeah, most of these movies were anywhere between hour 15, 20, 30. Yeah. It was
that's because you had these guys doing the bare minimum. And that's like, Cannon, Corman, and especially Full Moon was another example of where you're getting the bare minimum of being able to call this a movie at this point, because it's just over an hour long, and some of the Full Moon ones especially.
D-Bud very correctly pointed out I found the Korean poster.
Yeah,
of course you did.
Because I'm hugely into
I love that it
Korean
has
movies.
RoboCop's friggin' font there for Cyborg too.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Now,
that one right there.
the trailer for this one, it actually showed off Van Damme's splits abilities to the T, where it was like an attraction because he was in that very well, lighted scene, where it's like dark and it just kind of shows the bad guy's face and the outline of Van Damme doing splits. And he's got the knife above him and he drops it down. That's back, when they're fighting in the sewer. But for this movie, the reason I love it so much, 70s, is I love movies where it kind of whittles down your characters. There's, a lot of war movies are like that, where you get a set amount of people in the beginning and you just watch them get knocked off one by one by one by one.
Yeah, the domino effect.
Right.
12 little Indians or 10 little Indians kind of thing.
And Van Damme just goes through them. He disposes them as he goes. And for some reason, I've always been attracted to those kind of movies.
Yeah, it's the Rambo kind of effect too. Yeah, but no, it's funny because I wanted to bring up when you brought up the splits, that made me think about this, because we talk about how all these movies nowadays try to change all their stuff to bring in the women crowd, right? Whether it's Star Wars or now Indiana Jones or what have you. There's something about Van Damme movies as there is with Mel Gibson movies, and I'm sure there's a few other actors that the ladies in the chat will bring up. But ladies loved Van Damme and certain actors for this one reason. They knew they were getting a butt shot somewhere in the movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
You
right.
always got the guaranteed Van Damme butt shop, and I knew plenty of women that they were waiting for it.
Mrs. Rock fan was watching it with me, and she'd never seen it before. It's not her cup of tea, and she went,
Did she?
Is that his butt? My God, he's in good shape."
That's her way of saying hello.
Yeah, Oakley's mentioned
that, or they're jealous because he does the splits better than they do.
Maybe.
I mean,
no, but I just remember that at the time being one of the things about Van Damme is the ladies loved him.
Oh yeah,
that was one of the main reasons they loved him.
They probably loved the wet fight he got into this movie.
Oh yes,
too,
they love the wet fight.
He got
practically
fucking
invented that shit
for that,
right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say hi again to Oakley Vandal. Train to Busan was an incredible zombie film. Korean shows and movies are just telling good stories with unexpected twists. Amen. Because I'm a huge, I've got a lot of Korean content in my channel, and we did do one of these shows on Train to Busan. So please go check that out, Oakley. I think you'll enjoy it. We did that.
Davina Duckworth, those buns were rock hard.
Yeah, and then and then Mrs. Simmons turned to Brian and went, "You can't even get out of the chair right now because of your back." No, she didn't say that.
I think those buns could make diamonds out of coal, man. I mean,
so this poster actually,
he had more muscles in his ass than I think I have in my entire body.
As my father-in-law used to, father-in-law used to say, he's got muscles in his poop.
Look at that. His poop is flexing as it comes out. Holy shit.
Well, I always wondered if he got nipped at birth, because if I try to do the splits like that, I would friggin' die, man.
Well, and he's not, as far as I know, he's fairly decently hung from the stories I've heard.
Yeah.
So I'm
But you'd have to be careful you didn't go below 180 degrees. So you could be in trouble.
right?
I guess. Biggest dick
There's
you
a
ever
reason
seen
he
on a
does
man?
them above ground usually. He's got to do them
Where's
up on
my
stairs
showdown in Little Tokyo clip?
I don't have
Where
that.
is
I've got it, but I haven't uploaded it.
If he wasn't wearing pants, that sumbitch be hanging down. That's what I'm saying.
Look out.
However,
we
I
need
do.
Brandon Lee to come back for the dead and give his approval.
I do have this
there's
one
plenty
though.
of stories where Van Damme has shown his package off. I've heard. So.
I do this one.
Why is that more convenient than just jumping on the counter? I do not know.
Right?
It looks
Jump up on the
badass.
counter, man. Damn.
What if you missed
Killing me.
another foot?
I am in pain watching that clip.
It's
Shit.
totally, yeah, we're getting homoerotic, D-Bud, you're right. And
That's
why
what Van
not?
Damme does to you, Van Damme.
That's right.
Yeah, he does.
Strangely attractive. So this poster I love because it's from Ghana, the West African country of Ghana.
Oh, awesome.
It's an awesome piece of artwork. Yeah.
That is nice.
Someone mentioned the trailer, and I checked, and it's copyright strike free. So I'm going to play it.
Is it?
I'm going to play it right now. I tested it, so we're going to play it now.
Very cool.
I'm starting to sweat for some reason.
Aren't we all? Yeah.
It's on Blu-ray.
Moist.
Yeah,
We're
this is
becoming
actually a
moist.
great edition, I would say, too. If you can't,
It is a
get
good
it,
edition. I got it on order.
Great making of it and stuff. Yeah, we're getting like an echo, Brian.
A brutal gang is reshaping the world into their own vision of hell. And only one man can stop them. Jean-Claude Van Damme is leading the battle between good and evil.
With the ninja, the ninja music.
Never been fought before.
Are you guys seeing it in slow mo? I'm seeing it
Yeah, it's going a bit
it's
slow
really
for some reason.
Yeah.
It's lagging big time.
That's a shame.
But we can imagine it with the sound.
Why did you help me?
with audio.
You get to really appreciate the cinematography.
Well, that's disappointing that it's going slow.
But the audio's not.
Oh, the audio's great.
I think every line in the movie's in this trailer, Nick.
Pretty much.
Quite possible.
See,
There you go.
That's an example of the costumes. Why is he wearing that stupid costume?
What a diverse cast, too. You know, you would think they always talk smack about the 80s movies being too white, but this is a extremely
it's got everybody in it, yeah. Apologies
No,
for that
he's
running
just dark
slow.
white. That's all.
Yeah, we'll just let it keep going without the audio, but yeah, it's that is weird. Never mind.
Cinematography.
That's the trailer. And as you see, it does give away pretty much every great line.
Now it froze all together.
Yep.
Yeah, let's get rid of it.
It's done.
It's done.
It's toast.
Great trailer. Great trailer. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was
The plague got it.
Did some Van damage to your computer there,
The
Brian.
plague. The
High
plague. We don't know.
plague.
It could be any plague, but it's
Canadian
the
internet.
plague.
this is a high quality production here.
Canadian internet, definitely.
None of your DC CGI shit here. You know, this is high quality.
I could tell when I joined.
Yeah.
It's a one-man
Jurassic
band.
Park level production value here.
Right, we'll go back to some images though, and hey, we've done 48 minutes and I haven't even started playing the movie stills, but we'll get there eventually.
And yeah, I've overstayed my welcome, I know, but
Yes, as usual.
Oh,
there's-
that's why you
hello.
overstayed.
There's the Van
yeah, I
Damme.
gotta go.
Tom's got to
take care of
go.
some business.
Yeah, he's got to go.
What's happening?
Sexy boy.
Yeah.
Oh, let's give that Shawn Michaels
What?
song.
Why are the pants above his belly button? That's
Yeah,
He made
he's
it
got
look
those
sexy,
high
though.
risers. Yeah.
He's doing the fupa, but he doesn't even have to do the fupa. That's the funny part. He's rocking the fupa look.
we're riding a little high on the hips. Just saying.
So I
I
love is the boy next door kind of thing that he tried to always portray when it's like he did more cocaine in an hour than to kill like 12 horses.
I mean, come on.
But very
No.
important in the canon story. I mean, he's as Austin mentioned, some of the things he's been involved with. So he was there from the early days of the Go-Go
He
Boys.
was 70s. He was so coked out on this movie that he
God,
accidentally
yeah.
kicked somebody in the face, I think, and there a lawsuit
Oh,
that
no.
It
happened.
happens
I
to the
think.
best of us, Jolly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a
Lawsuit.
point where his cocaine to blood
Well,
ratio was a lot more cocaine than blood.
As
He probably became made of cocaine.
Like you could see the shit sweating out of his pores in the movie.
Right.
I mean,
You smack him on the back and there's a cloud of dust pops up.
But he did get into martial arts pretty young in Belgium, and was it Shotokan karate and roaring? I believe was the other one he did. Roaring, kick roaring, and then he did ballet as well. Which, you know,
but he was really kind of the pretty boy version of Schwarzenegger there at the mid to late 80s. There, that kind of was like where he filled in his role. I mean, he was like Schwarzenegger with the muscles, but not overly big, cute. And then as far as like the martial arts, he did the martial arts thing, but he wasn't like, so plain looking like Chuck Norris or anything like that, to where, he fit that role that women love. And I'm sure there's some in like the
That's why he could do the splits too.
Yeah.
Anybody that's taken martial arts knows half of it's stretching, guys. It's ridiculous. Yep.
Yeah, so he was a big friend of Michael Kesey from a lot of other canon movies and various martial arts movies. Big friends from their days in Belgium. He's actually, sorry, I should have mentioned he was born Jean-Claude Camille Francois Vanderberg. So hell of a name.
Hell of a name.
Hell
That's
of
a
a
big
name.
one.
Yeah.
And yeah, RJ, we were touching on this earlier, actually. Oh, here's a hell of a steal.
Dude,
Yeah.
that is the epitome of wet shot.
Wet shot. See, that's why he
Wet shot. Yep.
This is why he wore the bigger jeans. They shrink when they get wet. You see?
Yeah.
And he needs the room to be able to stretch when he does the split.
I'm telling you. Yeah, that's why he's wearing big jeans. Yeah, he's got to be able to move.
Now,
It
this
range
guy
of
right
motion.
here,
It was
this-
indeed Tong Po in that previous picture. Absolutely.
This is the guy that I was talking about. He sued Van Damme for kicking him in the face, if I'm not
To be
It's
mistaken.
fair, he
plain.
kind of looks like, if you look at his face, it looks like a freaking reptile
So,
face.
And he
Austin,
won the
how-
lawsuit too.
How
Van
would
Damme
you
had to pay him
pronounce
some
his
money.
name,
Okay.
Austin? How do you pronounce his surname? Vincent Klein?
Klin, I believe. I think it's
Klin.
Klin.
Okay, Klin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about him later. But here he is with Chuck Norris passing,
Oh my
trying to
god.
pass a baggie of cocaine to
Dude,
Chuck. but
I
he's
I was
not
gonna
having
say,
it.
I think worlds collided there, and like
I
I think
think my,
dailies were made at that moment.
Can the same matter occupy the same space? I don't know.
all right, I think there's an earthquake out my window right now. I gotta look here because right now the earth just shook.
Yeah. Boom.
And then, that's a nice, cute shot of him.
I don't know. I didn't know a picture could handle so much manliness at once.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
whole lot of testosterone in one still shot.
Now, his time
Oh
with
my God, it's
Canon,
almost as much as that.
his time with Canon obviously started with Braken as he, and you know he's trying to outdo the stars of the movie in this scene. It's just
Yeah, and D-Bud's right. Chuck never did any cocaine. Cocaine does Chuck Norris to
Chuck
get
Norris.
high.
I get high.
So Braken was it what he was in, and then Missing in Action he was in. We talked about it earlier.
Hold on,
He
go
was-
back to that break it photo. Go back to that because I thought that was Paulie for a second at the top. I
It
was
is
like,
Paulie
shit.
Latino Slack,
It was
yeah.
like
Well,
Paulie.
and we were talking about perfect trilogies earlier, and I had to invoke, Breaking, Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, and Rappin'. Never forget
Yes.
that trilogy.
Yeah,
Oh man,
indeed.
intense.
Very, very important films that kind of made there. Very influential.
So I think it's their most. Isn't it their highest grossing films? Austin was the
Breaking and the first Missing in Action were there too, but like big hits.
Yeah,
Wow.
they captured the zeitgeist for sure. But yeah, Missing in Action. They had, I think you Austin mentioned or somebody mentioned the involvement, quite a bit of involvement with that.
Mhm.
This is Van Damme when he was in Vietnam. It was
That's
called
right.
Damn.
Vietnam. Then.
Wasn't that the French, not the Belgians?
Vietnam?
Weren't they in the Congo?
Vietnam.
Damn Van Damme, Vietnam.
He
Damn
showed up
Van.
and the war ended. That was kind of how.
Everything Van Damme does.
This is
he
a picture
does
of him
Vietnam
saving
for
the
you.
troops.
Yeah.
You know.
And then obviously, yeah, he had part of Missing in Action. But look at that
yeah.
poster. And then started to get the leads. So lead role in Bloodsport, which
Look at those shorts.
which of course has that memorable scene that Jolly will know only too well. The unkindest cut of all.
That's not
The
legal.
splits. Every movie's got to do the splits, man. I'm telling you.
That's
Yeah.
not legal. You can't do that.
Pretty sure it's not legal yet. Hey, Kronos, it's good to see you in the chat, and I hope you're all having a good time in the chat. We're trying to keep up with your chats. Yeah, please hit that like button, share the stream, vote in the poll. Hell, you can even super chat if you wish. You know, I'm not too proud to beg for money.
Just a little TLC.
Ain't
Little
too proud
TLC.
to beg.
That's my favorite Van Damme movie. Is the
Yeah,
one
I
we were
think
just showing us, Bloodsport. I love Bloodsport.
Kickboxer's great too. He does the splits
Yeah, it
in
is.
that too.
He does it
Lovely
in
movie.
every movie.
So that was 1989, same year. Sorry, 88, year before Kickboxer, a year before Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Death Warrant, we mentioned, Austin, that was nearly a canon. I think, nearly. Started as a canon, ended up as a 21st century, I think, or an MGM.
I believe it's MGM. You can see the little lion at the bottom of the poster.
Yep.
Oh,
You
yeah.
sure can.
Because I think
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever went to 21st, was it Golan or Globus went to 21st? They took that with them, but it never worked out.
Well, it was an independent production. I think it was through Mark DeSalle, who worked on Bloodsport and Kickboxer. And I think at that point, Van Damme was on such a high trajectory that they can get more money from MGM than they could from either the Go-Go Boys.
Canon had written it, or it was written, and they were going to call it Dusted, I think.
Mhm.
And then they went bust, and that was the end of that. And there are I believe there are some VHS tapes out there with the Canon logo on them. I've never seen
Yeah,
one.
they did. They still distribute it in some places. So
Okay.
yeah.
So that was the star of Cyborg, Jean-Claude. Lots of great movies afterwards. But he had quite a career with Canon. The director, though, is the wonderful Albert, and sadly no longer with us, Albert Payone, director and writer. And he wrote this in like over a weekend or something. They said, we got all these assets from Spider-Man, He-Man and Spider-Man. What can you do with that? And along with Zito and Tobe Hooper was kind of like one of the main go-to guys to direct in Canon. Here's some of his movies: Dangerously Close, Down, Twisted, Jill Ireland and Alien from LA, Kathy Ireland, sorry, and Alien from LA, which is not a bad movie. I quite like that movie. And then Journey to the Center of the Earth, which had its own production. tales, I'm sure,
Mhm.
as you would recount, Austin.
For sure.
But yeah, these were all almost made Spider-Man. Almost. I would love to have seen that.
Kind of glad they didn't.
Oh, I don't know. I think it would have been a whole different world today if they had. Whole different world. But
I like the suit. I mean, the suit was. I think the suit's fantastic. At
Be
least that
glad,
was
be
what
glad
we
that
saw
they
in the
got the
end.
suit on there, considering
What else they did that was
Malcolm thought
wrong? Yeah.
Spider-Man
Oh, I
was
know.
Mhm.
I know.
yeah.
He's
There's,
got 8 legs and he runs around and he gets the girl.
as David Glenn says, Belgium is somewhere near Rhode Island. It probably
My
is.
Tom.
Tom,
Yeah,
are you
I'm
gonna
gonna
go?
check out here. Yeah, but you guys are in good hands. I'm pretty sure here. So.
Oh yeah,
It's always good talking with you, Tom.
Yeah, it's good seeing you again, even though we just talked recently. But it's good to catch up with you again, and hopefully
still-
we'll talk again soon.
I'm still recovering from seeing your Dune set.
Yeah. Well, thanks, buddy, for being
Yeah.
here. We'll see you around tomorrow, I guess, on stuff. Hopefully,
I'm sure I'll be around.
Hopefully
Thanks,
I'll make
Tom.
it
See you soon, buddy.
Cheers,
Take care,
buddy.
guys.
Yes, sir.
Take
Later.
care, Tom.
Bye.
Stay well.
Oop. Sorry, I took Nick out there. Nick, I took you out. Eliminated you. You're eliminated.
Eliminated.
So yeah, that would have been a
The
fun
muscles
movie.
from Brussels took him out. That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Did they just not make a payment, Austin, and lost the rights? What was it?
That's the official. That's the story that they gave. I think. I think a lot of it was also just a factor of like this. We can't make these too expensive movies. They knew, and they needed an out. And at that point, also, I mean, Masters Universe was not a hot property anymore by 1999. The cartoon had been off the air. I think they stopped making the action figures right after the movie came out. So 2 years later, funneling all that money into more He-Man, I think they realized that that wasn't as an exciting franchise as it would have been had they done the sequel years and years before.
Yeah, I guess so. So just sometimes, as with other canon things, the story is more important than the movie.
That's right. Yeah, the story behind it's more entertaining than the film itself,
Yeah,
right?
and we're going to eventually the Canon Film Club. We will do an entire show about the things they didn't make. But,
Right?
Yeah.
How about a show about the stuff they didn't make but still distributed? Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And
I
then
remember when this came out, and I was just so happy that we had a Captain America movie. And now, of course, I look back, I'm like, man, I was just so happy to have this because this is the closest we had this. We had that abysmal Fantastic Four, and of course, we had the Punisher with Dolph Lundgren.
Well, before that, we had some good TV though. We had the Incredible.
Oh yeah,
Hulk.
Daredevil was on the Hulk.
And a lot of people poo-poo on Spider-Man, the TV series. I love
Nicholas Hammond, man.
they poop on Spider-Man. That's a bit perverted, isn't
They
it?
do, man. They do. It was a great show, though.
But I like the TV show, the Nicholas Hammond. I grew up on that.
Yeah.
That was my that was my Spider-Man.
The white web shooters, right?
Yeah. But this was a kind of a canon movie. It ended up with 21st Century, I think, Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, the first version of this, they were involved. Michael Winner, it was going to be what he was going to do after Death Wish 3 for canon, and clearly it wasn't made till 1990 when Menachem took it to 21st Century with him during the Golden Globus divorce, the messy split. And it was actually Albert Pune who kind of begged Menachem when he was saying like what rights and what properties to cherry pick what he can take with him, and Albert Pune really wanted to make this movie and begged Menachem to get it, and so that they could actually do it because he knew it wouldn't get made at the more penny pinching canon at that point.
Yeah. Penny pinching. They were like the medieval times, cutting the corners off the coins to try and make the clippings make new coins. Yeah. But this was it went to 21st Century. I'm sure you can still see this movie. It's out there. But Payun made some great non-canon movies. Sword and the Sorcerer, which was a big hit, I think, at the time. It was like,
oh, dude, Nemesis. I remember that. I haven't seen that in a long
great
time.
movie,
Wow.
Nemesis.
Take me back at that one.
Nemesis, Radioactive Dreams, which was Philip and Marlowe, I think. And then the one I love, Dollman, which 13 inches with an attitude. I think that describes me. But but Dollman
they're talking about height right there. 70s.
So was I. No, Dollman is a hilarious movie if you ever see it. It's actually really neat. I haven't seen it for a long time, but yeah. Was it Tim Thomerson?
Long time.
It's a great. These are great movies. I mean, he really had, and he was very efficient. He just got them done, which is what you want in a director like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly passed away 2022. So just looking at the rest of the cast of the movie, Deborah Richter as Nadie Simmons. There's a lot of female leads in this movie. There's at least
and a lot of them were
three.
very capable, and their
least
character
three.
arcs made a lot of sense. Like they fought within the realms of like if there are certain guys they had to be very strategic in how they're able to take a guy. They couldn't just beat the guy because strong women. They actually had to be very creative there to try to outsmart a guy. And with the women fights, it made a lot of sense too. So I do appreciate that aspect of the movie as far as the female fights went. And they're formidable when it worked. When it made sense. And then there are times it's just like, okay, well, this guy's gonna definitely eventually deliver some serious whooping. And it happened. So and obviously this character had a pretty good arc in that.
Well,
She's the reason the family is back together.
Yeah, there was a couple of Fender's gang were kick-ass girls too, But so she's Nadie Simmons, and she's a young plague survivor who teams up with Gibson, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
She's got a nice butt too.
She's got a nice butt. She's a cute girl, and I think her
but
family
how
were
compared to Van Damme's though.
Yeah, well,
I like hers better. Thank you.
Yeah. But I think her family was killed by Fender, so she's got a grudge. Which is,
right.
She had a pretty limited career beyond this. A lot of TV work. I do remember her from Hill Street Blues. She's married to Charles Hayde there in real life, so she played a hooker in Hill Street Blues for quite a few episodes. That was my favorite TV show at the time when it was out. So I do remember her from that. She's got a certain.
thing I always remembered about Hill Street Blues is the roll call at the beginning of it.
Oh yeah. Don't get killed out there or whatever. Yeah,
that's right.
But the villain is and he's magnificent in this. I have to say,
yes,
Vincent Klein,
the reptile
Fender tremolo. They all had guitar.
I'm just wondering if he was a Stratocaster, though. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, there's so
he was too big to be a Strat, dude. he was a big ass 5-string jazz bass, dude.
And for some reason, he had chainmail, which Tom was pointing out, which is probably a very He-Man leftover. But and all the guns had to have those, multiple barrels on them in this movie. No guns.
He was a surfer, and a lot of the bad guys, a lot of the side actors in this were surfers at the time, professionals, because the He-Man who was replacing Dolph in the sequel, because Dolph didn't want to play any part of a second one, was Laird Hamilton, the surfer. So he brought all of his crew, all of his buddies with him to be
surfer bros. Yeah, man, they run in packs, no doubt.
and then when they canned the movie, his movie, he got sent home, but all his buddies stayed to be in Cyborg. Yeah, a lot of these guys are surfers.
Yeah, and you can see because they got the bodies for it. He was a New Zealander, I think, and I think he just got spotted on a beach by Albert Bayonne, or something like that. I don't know. And he thought he'd make a great villain. He had the physique for sure. And he leads the Flash Pirates, who are basically like, I don't know, they're the gang. They don't care about the cure. They just want the cash or the power, whatever. They're nihilistic, I would say is the word. And they're very small as well, 13-inch tall. So here he is in well, you know which movie this is, of course. Point Break.
Hell yeah.
With
Johnny Utah, baby.
Dude,
Johnny Utah.
So weird. It's so weird to see Reptile Man still look like a reptile.
yeah. Point Break, because he's typecast playing a surfer,
Thinking that Cyborg a lazy eye?
So the Cyborg, let's move on to the Cyborg. And this
fit in, dude.
So Dale Haddon as Pearl Prophet She played the titular cyborg, although she starts out, well, she doesn't start out, she's fully human in the flashbacks. And she gets all this hardware to get the mission, to get the data, the MacGuffin data stored in New York. Well, the cure is the MacGuffin. This is the MacGuffin's MacGuffin. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's only like a cyborg in one scene. Is that right?
Like where they show the back of her head.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
they show
she-
the back of
she
her
pulls
head
it off only
early
once, yeah.
on. Yeah, that's the only scene.
Yeah.
And that's where you actually hear the sound effects of the movement of her.
So-
Yeah.
But
that's the only
but this scene right here where they're putting her together is later on in the movie. But yeah.
Yeah.
To the other people, the only ones that know she's really a cyborg is Van Damme, because she pulls off the wig and shows him.
Yeah.
So,
But the funny thing is, I've never understood why she had to be a cyborg. Couldn't she just taken a floppy disk and got the data? Like, I don't quite get it.
Or pull a Johnny Mnemonic or
I
something.
mean, yeah, I don't know what Austin's view is on this, but
Yeah, it's calling this movie a cyborg is a stretch. I'll echo what Nick was saying there.
it's a bit of a stretch. However, as an actress, she had her moments. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a model.
Yeah, you
also-
did extensive research. to
I
get
do.
that.
I do. I have extensive. I've detailed files. She started out as a model. Harper's Bazaar named her one of the 10 most beautiful women in the world in 1973. So, and there she is with the lovely Jan Michael Vincent, who looks more beautiful than her, in the world's greatest athlete. Disney movie. So she's doing Playboy centerfolds, which she did, and she's in Disney movies. So things haven't changed really, have they? But yeah, The World's Greatest Athlete. Has anyone seen this movie? I saw it as a kid. I went to the cinema to see this movie.
Think so.
I don't think so for me
Yeah,
either.
it's because Disney made live action movies like The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes or stuff like that with Kurt Russell. They made stuff like this. But yeah, she had a bit of a glamour career too. I'm not sure she did any particular other work, TV or film work I can think of. But the music, the cinematography, Philip Allen Waters, not much about him online. He worked a lot as a DP or cameraman on Jason Goes to Hell was one movie he did. Pumpkinhead, and The Wrecking Crew, which I remember seeing with Ice-T. And then he did a lot of music stuff, music concerts and music filming of music videos and stuff. So, but the music itself was done by this gentleman, Kevin Bassenson, who came from the Jeff Lynne School of Haircuts.
That is quite the epic white guy fro.
Quite the epic fro. That's a fro, not a bro. Heavy score on the electronics and drums. Is it true, Austin, though, he wasn't necessarily the first choice? Like there's another score out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about that one right off. I don't know what the full deal was there.
I read something that said that Albert Payne didn't really want him, and he had another more rock-oriented score lined up, but for some reason his score ended up in it, and it's more electronic and drum-based, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a ton of credits online for work. He's got a music warehouse in LA and does all sorts of music editing and produces stuff, and a composer. But this is the other movie I remember him from. Not that I knew it was him until I looked it up. But Police Story, which of course is a fabulous movie, and Golden Harvest era Jackie Chan.
Hey guys, I gotta dip out real quick. I'm sorry about that. Got a little bit of an emergency situation with one of my dogs.
Oh right, mate. Okay,
Yeah,
no worries.
right.
If you make it back, we'll play here for a little longer. But yeah, hope everything goes well, and thanks,
Take
buddy.
care, Snow. Good to see you.
I apologize.
Take care, man. Nice to see you.
No
luck.
problem. So that's kind of the main, cast and crew. Some interesting stuff in there. Let's just take a look at some of the stills, and we'll chat about what's going on. Cyborg.
Why do I get the feeling he's walking a tightrope? Why do I get that feeling?
Hang on,
Oh.
there we go.
Do it.
Do it. So
Do
yeah,
it.
we'll take a look at that. Let's see if I can get us in the middle of this screen.
The muscles from Brussels.
How
Yeah,
do we get
man.
in the middle? There's so many layouts here. We were in the middle before. I guess we've lost somebody, so it's gone down to one side. Someone move over the other side, quick. Doesn't work. No. Okay.
I tried.
Maybe we'll go that way. So just feel free to chat about anything about this movie you want now, because this is just
Well,
a
the
bunch of
crucifying people, that kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of crucified people all over town. You seeing this? There's bodies everywhere, and somebody's
yeah.
hanging out there dangling for our delight behind her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just always think of Life of Brian. Crucifixion, first course in the life. Crucifixion, first course in the life. They're going. So this is New York.
Yes, they start in New
Right.
York.
Yes, it was
Start
New York because they were trying to get to Atlanta. Imagine that, saying Atlanta's the promised land. Yeah.
Well, it was the whole.
It
It is
can't be
the
New York. It's too nice.
right,
Ah!
but
This was
Atlanta
filmed-
is the home of CDC. So you
That's
know, hey.
true. Well, the CDC features, of course, as it did in The Walking Dead and other such things. And I love when they say the CDC is the last hope for humanity.
Once
Right.
again, look at that diverse crew.
It's
Look
gonna
at
be the-
that.
I love the voiceover at the beginning, though. It is a very clever move because it's you think the guy's going to say, and we're going to save this. And he goes, I like the chaos. I like this world.
Yeah.
Very nice twist. Very
Yeah.
nice.
He's all about the plague. Yep.
No,
He
he
wants to
he
continue.
probably says the most amount of words, but the words he says are very effective because clearly he's like, okay, I get to do whatever I want here. I got no oversight. I am in control of this freaking land. So yeah, that's why he's not gonna give up a fight because he's the law in this land. A guy like that, he ain't gonna go down without a fight. That's why it took 2.5 fights to get this guy to go down. Seriously, he was a formidable son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That wasn't your average boss fight. I feel like that's another thing this movie deserves credit for. He wasn't your average boss fight. It was one match and then a rematch. It was one match, rematch, and then there was the post match because you thought he was done for. It's just like, oh no, I'm gonna Billy Mays it with. But wait, there's more. And
Yeah,
damn, this guy
every
just
one of
won't
these
die.
movies had the Terminator moment where the bad guy got back up and come after him again,
Yep,
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
I found it interesting that they give Pearl the cyborg stuff, and yet they didn't really make her a kick-ass, fighter. They just stuck it in her head.
Right, right. You would think that it would be like the Matrix. They'd program her to be a badass, right? She'd know every
Yeah.
martial art there is and stuff like
She
that.
was almost more fragile because of it.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, she certainly didn't have the back of her head fixed on very strongly.
And it was post-apocalyptic. They didn't have Velcro.
But I will say entirely in the movie's favor, and I do love it, is that the sets and the costumes and that very tight direction and the use of those make up for all the budgetary failures, and it looks as good as it possibly could. There's some great shots in the set, sets that are set up. Pyoun does some great shots from different angles. There's a great use of lighting in many places, like in the sewage chase, tunnel chase, or whatever. So, yes, it's $500,000, albeit leftovers that made it more from other movies, but it still looks as good as it possibly could.
I
my
argue
opinion.
it still looks good. I mean, you look at a lot of this stuff now, it still looks very like. I would say, obviously it's not fresh because you could tell it came up from the 90s, but I guess you could say it looks like a land that you can believe where this stuff is actually happening. That's saying a lot because at this point in time, there had been a fair amount of post-apocalyptic, futuristic, dystopian type of world. So to see this, and yet again, but with the Van Damme lenses on it, yeah, it really makes you believe that this type of world is real and that what you see is happening. And yeah, it's brutal. Also, I love too when you see a lot of the kills, you get like the double or the triple shot, like kick,
I think
punch.
so. I think this had a lot of the violence dialed down a bit. I think, Austin, that's probably fair to say.
Yeah, this is a movie that, like Bloodsport, had Van Damme in the editing room afterwards because they got the movie back to the Canon offices and they watched the first cut of it, and they did not they were not happy, and Van Damme, especially after he had a hit in Bloodsport, and he was not happy. So they let him go in and change things. All of those 1, 2, 3 shots that from Bloodsport, that's stuff that Van Damme had added in that movie and added here, because he was used to seeing them in the martial arts movies, the Hong Kong flicks that he loved. So he brought that with him. And then there were fight scenes. The one we'll see coming up here soon. There's a big one kind of in a abandoned factory, a lot of cement and places crumbling down. But that's something that Van Damme was like, we need another fight scene. Let me direct it. I'll go out. So that's why there's another cut of this movie that Albert was called Slinger that he was selling on his own. That's in black and white.
Oh, right.
Very
Really?
different.
Yeah. Didn't Albert Payan want it to be in black and white?
Yeah. There's things like that. Yeah, he wanted the black and white, the very like rock and roll soundtrack, stuff that, I mean, he had some wild ideas, and even Canon at that point was like, no, we got to rein them in. But
Austin, can you explain what a slinger is? They call him a slinger several times in this show.
Is it from Singapore?
Yeah.
Can you explain what?
That's tough. I'll let somebody else go ahead.
Well, I don't know if they ever explained really.
I don't think they did.
Where it was derived from, but I mean, they're mercenaries, but slinger. I mean, I'm not quite sure what they're slinging. You know, whereas pirates, you understand. The bad guys are pirates. Well, they go and they just steal and wreck. And
maybe they just had part of Web Slinger left from the Spider-Man script.
Right.
Yes. 70s. I've stuck around a little longer there than I was allowed to, but I do gotta get going because, well, duty calls, and I gotta respond to said duty. And yeah, awesome to meet you. Dude, if you ever are down for doing Toxic Tuesday with us, please, I would love to have you on for an episode, obviously for a canon film. But anyways, chat, stick around with 70s and the Crew. This is, in my opinion, a badass film. So don't worry about me. I'm gonna go see Mission Impossible. That'll be on the Monday night Meltdown time with Comics Division. And of course, Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night for Invasion USA. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here, mate.
Love you, Nick.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it. So, the slinger thing could have been left over from Spider-Man, I guess. I mean,
or just short.
I didn't know if it would, if it was like a version of a cop or a bounty hunter, or that's what I kind of thought he was.
Mercenary for hire. You could be good, could be bad. I mean, they seem to be getting hired to take people through.
I know the pirates didn't like him being a slinger. A couple of them.
I guess they were hired mainly to protect against pirates. So now this is one of the flashback scenes. So the movie employs that whole structure of flashback story to explain how Gibson, and again, I love all the musical instrument names they all gave them. Gibson Rickenbacker, how he got to where he was, and it introduces him working as a slinger in the past, taking a family out of the city to find a place to live, whatever. And he kind of gets attached to them. So that emotional attachment shapes him, forms his views later in the movie. Because at first he's a badass. Everyone's sharpening their knives in this movie as well. I notice there's a lot of knife sharpening scenes. Very seductive.
Yeah. Well, you got to imagine they don't their bullets are probably a hot commodity, you would imagine. In a post-apocalyptic world, right? So
and so it's post-apocalyptic, and something I wondered about was that everyone's suffering from this plague, which I'm assuming has killed billions of people, and they're desperate to find a cure. But how much important is the cure now? If it's everyone that's still alive is immune, I know you see one sufferer. Pretty much everyone that's alive must be immune now. So is the cure really that important?
Well, for the future of humanity, it would be, and everybody that's born, you'd want them to live, right? You'd want them to survive in the world coming up, right?
Dustin joined.
I guess so.
Getting polio,
I guess people being born, but you do see one or two sufferers in some of the street scenes, and you're getting an awful bit of a Mad Max Road Warrior feel. Not sure if Demolition Man had been out yet. There's a little bit of the underground scenes in that feel. They're cooking suspect-looking meat on burners. Now, Fender there, he's got these really piercing eyes. Is he meant to be a cyborg too?
I don't think so.
Because I have thought he mentioned towards the end something about cyborgs like me, or is a world for us cyborgs or something? It caught my ear later in the movie as if he was suggesting he was as well, or certainly his eyes, because they're so piercing.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Yeah, it's a movie that was written in a weekend and not really ever rewritten. So there are a lot of
the world
questions
building
that
really
you
didn't
can't
get
answer.
concentrated on. Is that what you're saying there, Austin?
Yeah, that's fair.
And it does feature all these things that you love to see in post-apocalyptic movies. Most of the fight scenes are filmed in disused warehouses or broken down buildings, which are all over the place, so nice and cheap to film in. This I mean, it's interesting. They look like refugees from an Australian new wave band at this point.
Yeah, it's the bad hair thing. It's
Men
pretty
without
realistic.
hats or
Gotta give
something.
it to 'em. Yeah.
The distances are an issue for me, and I shouldn't pick holes in it. It's a B movie. So Fender's crew hijack a boat somewhere called Charleston, which must be in Virginia, I'm assuming.
Charleston's in it's either North or South Carolina. It's one.
Well, I've been to that Charleston, but they start in New York and they go looking for a boat. So they talk about Charleston, and then these guys are trying.
They were looking for a boat, is what threw me off. I'm like, wait, you're going from New York to Atlanta by sea? Are you going to go around Florida and then back north up in the Gulf to get to the bottom of?
Well, I don't. It makes kind of sense because New York is a port, and then they could go down to the south coast.
So they don't have to go around Florida to get to Savannah.
I know. I
Savannah.
know. I'm just saying. It just sounds silly to me.
Yeah.
You know, why not go by land?
However, these guys then, well, not here. Here they say they're going to walk there. And yet they get to the beach and he's looking at the boat going past in binoculars. A boat that's been going 15 knots per hour probably since it left port, and they're walking and they've caught it. So
maybe Van Damme's a cyborg too. Yeah, maybe.
So the distance and timing issues are a little bit off for me, but we are getting some nice sets here, great use of lighting. You know, you can overcome an awful lot in the budget and plot holes with that kind of thing. Has he found peace in his soul? I guess we'll never know.
Wow.
And I like that haircut though.
Yeah, I wonder why like that was the past haircut that he had. Try to make him look all innocent, like, you know.
I don't know. I mean, is it a hairdo or a hair don't?
It's a different hair don't.
I mean, I get it. They're differentiating between the time.
That's a hair should never have had.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're making in the past scenes where he's with the family with the kids, the girl, the kids, and he's clearly falling for her. They make that big mistake that they always make in post-apocalyptic movies. You know, this is a nice area. Maybe we can settle down here.
Right.
Like same thing in The Walking Dead. They always, we'll stop here.
Yeah,
this place is
here.
nice.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're overrun by ravening zombies or killers. You know,
that's it.
Like never stop. Never stop.
Just move
never
on.
Stopping.
That's it.
Endeavor to persevere.
There's your plague victim right there.
Yeah, so there are plague victims. So I guess people are still falling victim to even after. I don't know. Is there a time? Does it say which year this is in? Did it ever say the year? No.
I'll look up on IMDb. Maybe it's on there, but I doubt it.
It's made in 1989. It's probably set like most Hollywood movies, set way in the future, like 2002.
Right.
Yeah.
Way in the future.
If he's the first year of the 21st century,
Austin's got it. Yeah, first year of the.
It's got to be 2005 at the
2005-ish, right? Yeah.
It's a Running Man's 2005, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I love John Carpenter doing wasn't it 1999 when Manhattan turned into a prison? I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah. So Time Cop, which I watched after this just for shits and giggles, was set in the flashbacks are 1994. The current day is 2004. And everyone's driving super robotic-like cars that look like they're space age. So they always get that shit wrong. They're always far too optimistic. So unfortunately with the stills, and here we go. I love this. This is your standard. This must be in Wilmington. I don't know if it'd be on the studio set or
wow. Check
this
this out, Brian. You guys got to hear this. The description. This tells you what IMDb thinks of this movie. A martial artist hunts a killer in a plague-infested urban dump of the future.
Well, I read that out at the beginning, and then I made my San Francisco joke. So,
this is
so Austin,
this is clearly an abandoned old factory near Wilmington. But this was a scene that Van Damme later went back because he needed more of his fighting. So this is a Van Damme directed, Van Damme edited scene here,
and that makes sense because it does seem a little disjointed. At certain points here, because they have the second set of fighting later in a similar environment. But I mean, if you had to add this in, how short was the movie without it?
You look at some of those. Albert did Dangerously Close, which has like a good 10-minute opening credit sequence. That's there. I mean, his movies, he had a hard time filling the runtime.
Yeah. And the thing is, they could have put more fights in, as far as I'm concerned. Chuck a few more in,
Yeah.
Dustin.
One thing about this scene where she's walking through here, she's been in this apocalyptic future for a long time, and her head is not on a swivel at all.
No, she is oblivious to everything behind her, no doubt. Yeah, I noticed that too.
And he says, "Stay here for your own safety." Well, of course she's not going to stay there, is she?
She's a woman. She doesn't listen.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, this isn't Toxic Tuesday. My bad.
No, Mad Martigan should be here because he would appreciate that. So I did have one scene. I don't know if we've reached it yet on the beach where I put Mad Martigan's head on the girl's bum as she's running down to the water. There's a lot of beefcake there. Her and him and Jean-Claude were naked on the beach at that point, just for no apparent reason.
The only thing I found was, of course, it said it on the poster. He's the first hero of the 21st century, so it's past. It's past the turn of the century.
Yeah, as Austin said, it's probably like 2005-ish, because clearly this is they were wrong, because this is what we look like today. It took a few more years, but we got there.
Right.
So what do you think, Austin, of the fighting in this movie? I feel that some of it's good and some of it's a little bit staged. Like it's not fluid.
No. I mean, especially compared to Bloodsport or Kickboxer, it's not as... I mean, they say that every fight should tell a story, and that's one of the this one doesn't have that. It's missing that for me. You got cool looking moves, and I think that was the first thing that they were kind of focusing on, whether or not that makes sense for how whether it flows and makes sense and you can follow the action and everything. I think we do lose that in some of these fights.
Yeah, I think you see some quite nice kicking from Van Damme, but there's other parts of it where it's a little... Oh, here we go, yeah.
There's Mad Martigan.
Yeah. There's other parts where I feel that they didn't seem close. There wasn't enough close contact. It was a little bit staged. You could see the staging of the fight. It wasn't quite as fluid as it could have been. Maybe the time pressures, because I mean they filmed it in 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
However,
you should have put Mad's face on Van Damme's face when he shut her down, when she started to pull her blanket down.
Oh, that's true. Yes, yeah, we don't need that kind of thing here. Personally, I thought it was leading up to be one of the best parts of the movie.
Oh, right?
Yeah,
I wanted to see those.
Yeah. So in the pantheon of this kind of movie, and I'm not sure whether it can be just, I mean, the description that I gave at the beginning, it's got like 8 genres in it. Is it the pantheon of post-apocalyptic things? Where do you guys feel it stands? Is it up there, or is it
Mid-level.
not as good? Mid-level.
You know, I told you before the show, it really reminds me of Waterworld. A lot of the get-ups they're in and stuff, it's all used older stuff, except for the chainmail. You know, I guess he raided a museum or something for that. Must have, but I think it's cool. It's a cool portrayal. About the only issue I had was with Atlanta. My God, they had Atlanta just looking like this sprawling, huge city, and most of it is like shorter buildings. You know what I mean?
As Oakley says, the heavies, we came so close to seeing them.
Yep.
Yeah, Atlanta is a very sprawling place. Like I've only spent a little bit of daytime there, but like going through at night, we've done a bunch of times driving to Florida, and like you go through like 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's like this expansive sprawl.
It is
like,
a bit. I mean, I'm not a big fan of downtown Atlanta, but Alpharetta, I've spent some time in.
And they didn't put one Peachtree sign out. Now, come on. If you're in Atlanta, you're going to see a Peachtree sign, right?
Millions of peaches.
For me and for you, walking on the beaches, looking at the peaches, as the Strangler sang. This is interesting too, because he looks like a refugee from Stargate or something, you know, like Stargate Command or one of the with this
a little bit
costume,
of Battlestar Galactica in there too.
A little bit of Battlestar Galactica again.
The only one with a shower.
Is he dressed like that to look like a scientist?
That's what they're trying to convey, I think. Yeah.
I still never, I mean, Albert Payun, rest in peace, forgive me. I still never understood why she had to be a cyborg. What special qualities did it give her? Other than the fact she can retain lots more data, but then again, even then they had floppy disks, you know.
Yeah. You know.
But we don't know what kind of apocalyptic thing we had. Was like, were they what are the electronic ones, like were they EMTs or whatever? I don't know what they're called.
Right.
EMP. Yeah, the electric
EMP.
magnetic pulse.
Yeah.
So we don't know if that's like would have wiped everything out anyway.
And I felt it would have been a little nicer to have expanded the reasons for her being a cyborg and what advantages it gave her and what she did with that when she got to New York. And God knows where in New York she was getting this data from. I mean,
if this was a new line and not canon, we probably would have got that.
Yeah, just a little bit of that. And I would like it to have given her some kind of advantage over, you know, being able to see further or...
It's kind of like I said, they could have just done the whole Johnny Mnemonic thing instead of fully turning her into a cyborg. Here's an implant that stores data.
Implant, yeah. Is anyone here named Sarah Connor? There is a kind of a discount Sarah Connor going on here, for sure. And I'm not talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme, by the way.
Davina made a good point. She said they might have planned more cyborg stuff and then ran out of money.
True.
Yeah.
So the money, this was 1989, I guess, Austin. Would they have had severe difficulties with funding this as they went? Do you think?
Honestly, they never had the money in the first place with this one. This was one that we've got a bunch of props, we've got a bunch of half-built sets, we got a few weeks, and we already paid Van Damme for another movie. So do what you can here as fast as you can and try to make up for some of the sunk cost. So this was a movie that never had even a promise of a higher budget. But I think a lot of these problems that we have it was a film that was written in a weekend and and shot in a few weeks, and really no one else.
And let's face it, not many people could write a film in a weekend. I mean, Albert Payun was one of them, and for given all that, I still love it because I just love some of these scenes. I love the set.
I almost cracked up just now because I was watching that fight scene on the previous one where they're running at each other, and I just remembered why I cracked up when I saw it. The guy with the 2 knives that's coming at him. all I could see was Monty Python and that guy charging the door to go save everybody in the castle. Remember, they kept showing him over and over again.
That's right.
I absolutely adore Albert Pune, and I love what he could do on his movies. Always looked better than the tiny budgets they had. And
yes,
he was a great, one of the best like small like resource directors. He could squeeze production value out of any amount. But when it came to his movies, I think any decision we could look at and examine, I think he would look at, does this make sense? No. Is it cool? Yes. They like, so why are the characters named after guitars? Does it make sense? No. It's cool.
It was cool.
Why is cool. Does the title Cyborg make sense? No. Is it cool? Yes. I think that's his decision-making process for a lot of.
I agree with you, Austin. I love him for it. I love his movies, and I love him for that. And I love the fact, as we've talked about earlier, he made them look as good as they possibly could be, given the limitations. And because he was so efficient as a director, he could get them made. You know, another lesser director they wouldn't have been made. He would have ran out of money long before, even for Canon standards, and it would have been.
Well, I think you got to give it to him. He editing is something he's really good at. I mean, the film it's less than 90 minutes, right?
It's 82-minute running time,
and you know, one of the greatest directors people mentioned being a great editor is John Carpenter. His films of them run 90 minutes or less, you know? Yeah. So he gets the point across with very little.
I'm a fan of that. Efficient directing with very little wasted, very little filler. Just tell the story as well as you can. RJ Godzilla 81, thank you for being here. Van Damme wins. Sorry, Norris fans. Hey, controversial opinion, but you're entitled to it. That's
Bruce gets them both. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Imperatus, you were going to say something earlier. Sorry.
I was just saying, like, you know, the fact that it was written in a weekend might explain why there's almost no dialogue in the movie.
There's a very, I mean, Haley. This is Haley, the girl from back in the day that he's her mother that he befriended. I don't know if she's even got a line in the movie. Like maybe one line.
Yeah, maybe a line or two tops.
I think she says his name at one point when he's crucified up there, when they're leaving him. I think she says his name, but you're right. She hardly says anything.
And I guess the childhood trauma and being forced to be one of the pirates. Hail to FKHC 2005. Good to see you, buddy.
Once again, I get a Waterworld vibe from her. She looks like she's got the same haircut as the kid in Waterworld.
And when was Waterworld made?
Like, was that 94?
Yeah, it was after
like
this.
Mid-90s.
No doubt. Yeah.
I do like this aesthetic, though. I mean, I get it's cobbled together from other bits, but I'm always a fan of the post-apocalyptic aesthetic.
1995.
And I do think Albert Payne and the casting is great. I mean, these extras and the lesser actors and the pirates or whatever, the lesser roles, they put a lot into it. They look the part, for one thing. You know, there's some really fearsome guys and girls in there. Although they make that big mistake they always make. They always attack a good guy one at a time instead of attacking en masse.
Instead of en masse, right?
That's right. We'll give him a chance. We'll go one at a time.
The one time they surround him, they're just staring at him on the ground.
Yeah. And I did like the plot part that he discovers here, the plot point that he thinks she's going to go with him. He saved her. No, she says, I'll stick with these guys because I know they can get me there, even though they're looking for nefarious things when they do get there.
Right.
She's confident her scientist buddies can handle them. That was a good twist as well.
Yeah.
I did like that too. She made the calculation that the bad guys were better, had a better chance of getting her there.
Well, her cyborg brain was doing the math, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if they'd given her bionic arms, she could have just killed them all. But
yeah.
Now, little fact that I did discover, and I don't know, Austin, if it's right or not, is that there's a connection to, or kind of a connection to the $6 Million Man, because that was originally written to have the title Cyborg. And so they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't use it, which meant it was up for grabs here, so they could actually use it. So that's pretty neat, you know.
Yeah, Canon actually knocked this movie off themselves later on with American Cyborg Steel Warrior. So if you want a movie that is a Cyborg knockoff made by the people who made Cyborg, you can check that one out.
There's nothing like plagiarizing yourself, though.
Your own stuff.
Oh, that's kind of par for the course for canon.
I mean, you're not going to sue yourself.
The Ninja Trilogy, American Ninja.
So I think possibly, and this is my opinion, this is the most effective sequence in the movie. Down in the sewers where they're being chased, and then the blue lighting I think is fabulous. That works really well, because obviously most sewage facilities have blue lighting in the underground for specific reasons that you don't quite know of. But it looks great, and then of course we get the reveal about just where he is, waiting for
doing the splits again. Guy can't get away from it.
Splits again, yeah.
He's got to show how agile he is.
Yeah. Indeed, he's got. This is it. Yeah, I love that. I love this part. It's really good. I mean, it wouldn't have been. Surely it would have been easier just to hide behind the tank and
just hit him from behind. Yeah. But he'd have heard him. He'd have heard him sloshing through the water. Right. This is quiet. It's ninja-like even. We know. Canon loves ninjas. So hey.
So Davina thinks the backdrop shots were too wide. In her opinion, it made the movie seem more low budget, showing all the empty space. That's a valid point. Yeah, I mean, you're showing emptiness when, if you keep it tight, it looks like there's more going on. But I do like this lighting is phenomenal.
Well, you mentioned it when we were talking earlier about when they were on the boat. We kept getting the same shot of the same piece of footage of them ride the boat, right?
Yeah, through the channels, the inland channels, and which is presumably the North Carolina coast. And because they're meant to be on a beach looking out over the Atlantic, and they're looking through the binoculars, and it's the same shot of the boat going. Fair enough. What could they? They're saving cash. I get it. Yeah, that epic, was it Cavatino, Hail Cavatino, that epic split fathered a son and a daughter. Not in that shot though, so
now that shot right there, that was a one take, man, because you know what? She's running through there, and usually you can tell in these the stuff that takes place outside, you can tell if they'd run over the grass already, and they hadn't. I noticed that when I watched this. I was like, wow, they did that in one take,
Yeah, and Das Wolf, and welcome to the stream, John. I'm sorry I didn't talk to you earlier, but the empty space works better for you think, John? Hello.
What?
Oh, there he is. Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
I thought you could add yourself. Sorry, I thought you were able to
I thought I could too, but apparently I lost my powers.
So I'm talking to you and you weren't even in the stream. My apologies, mate. Welcome.
That's okay.
That's why I need you as a producer. I need a producer.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't give me my powers, but
so you think the empty space works well?
Yeah, because I mean it's a post-apocalyptic movie. There's not as many people. Everything's more desolate. And it just gives that feeling of it being, the end of the world, past the end of the world.
I don't think there is a nat panel. Is there a nat panel, Cronus? I've never noticed that about YouTube. If there's a nat panel, there's no at panel because we've all got different handles. So this whole sequence, was he attacking the pirates to rescue Pearl, or was he trying to just kill Fender?
He was fighting them off because they were chasing him. He kept telling her to run. He's protecting her. Yeah.
His original purpose was to get Pearl, and then she turns him down, and now he's just escaping.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. I mean, I know his girl companion wants to kill Fender, but and this is where he gets absolute shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, I noticed and one thing after watching Steven Seagal movies, I always look at how these actors run, and he runs like he's about to fall down at any second. His arms look like they're flailing kind of when he's running,
Sorry, Cronus is explaining that he calls everyone who's talking at panel. That's a good point if we're looking for that. Yeah, and then he's at chat. Yeah, and it's kind of neat to see this. You know, the villain isn't. It's not like Chuck. Chuck never gets beaten up like that.
No.
Van Damme loses badly here.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He ends up
He was hitting
crucified.
hard.
Yep.
It was like he was barely even touching him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and then because he's had to fight so many guys, and it's not a fair fight when the villain comes up and he's exhausted, and then they crucify him, and they do put those. He is right through his arm, nailed through his arm, because you do see the holes later. Doesn't seem to affect his fighting later, but he's definitely.
Well, they're still now. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're still on the coast here, right? They've still got to go inland to Atlanta on foot, so that's a long ways. It was probably days, and when you do see it again, it's when they get to Atlanta. He takes the wraps off, and it's healing up.
Yeah.
That's when you see it again. Yeah.
So I'm assuming Godzilla is talking about Mexican Iron Man, my good friend Mikey. I don't know if I'd want Mikey as a producer because he's forever jumping out the window during a stream, and it's very disconcerting when he disappears like that, and all the MILFs hanging around him. So Haley has, I guess, seeing him like this has rekindled her memories of her mother and their short time together with Gibson, and she's now.
Fender even notices it. He said, "What's wrong with you?" Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's coming back from the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Do-do.
Life of Brian was made. No, that was made way earlier, wasn't it?
In the 70s, yeah.
75, I think.
Was it as early as that? It was more like 1979, 1980.
Hang on, I'll look it up.
But yeah, still pretty far back.
It was banned in a lot of places.
79, yeah, you're right.
So are we saying Cyborg was influenced by the life of Brian? I would love to have seen the life of Brian done as a canon movie.
Every time I see him in the past with that ponytail and the bangs hanging down, I think of Fable. You know,
Fable,
I've played a lot of that game.
Or like Kindergarten Cop, the bad guy from Kindergarten Cop, Chris.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were saying earlier, they made the massive mistake of imagining that their rural idyll was going to continue. And surely no bad people would ever come up and try and take this lovely house and all that stuff from us.
No.
Never. But they got a free, because there's no, in those days, there was, and in this era, there's clearly no Pornhub.
No Skinamax.
No Pornhub, no Skinamax. They got a free show.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's like almost like they forgot that the world ended.
This is just hideous right here, man. This is hideous.
Never
this
let your
is
guard
horrible.
down. It is. This is really quite brutal stuff.
Yes, it is. Oh God.
Yeah,
This
see
poor
the
kid.
eyes are what make me think he's some kind of cyborg himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the roaring. He's trying his roaring martial art, but it's not quite working.
There you go. Not quite working.
Sound is an energy. Sound waves. Yeah.
He's on the tree of woe.
He is the tree of woe.
But yeah, this flashback, man, it's brutal what they did to that kid. Haley. Yeah, their lives are in your hands, right? It's up to you.
Yeah, no wonder she's traumatized.
Right?
Yeah,
and they give her barbed wire to keep them up. Good Lord, man. Oh,
and there's
that's
no
horrible.
damn way you're going to be able to save them. So
No.
yeah, it's brutal. This part was extremely well written out. I thought that this is actually what would happen in such a reality with such evil shits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now he makes it out. No sign of the other two.
Well, he did the splits and caught both sides of the well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hey, he can make it.
True,
Yeah.
but he failed to
No.
rescue them.
No.
And then he's covered in oil.
That's it.
Well, it was actually filled with baby oil, so
Baby oil. It wasn't watered down that well. It was baby oil. That's a nice shot. I like that shot.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
Needy. That's it. I keep forgetting her name. Needy.
Yeah.
So
and here we are walking to Atlanta.
We're walking to it, yeah. So the boat, the foregoing the boat, I guess they landed at Savannah or somewhere, Charleston, North Carolina, or somewhere like Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're walking from there.
Can't they find horses? Did horses not survive the apocalypse?
No, sir, that's not in the budget. Sorry, horses
maybe they
are
had
expensive.
the plague. Maybe they had the plague too.
They would have ate those.
True.
Yeah.
I don't think we saw a dog in this show, did we? I don't think we
dogs.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Atlanta sign, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That looks like they were straight out of Walking Dead. Like Walking Dead totally stole that from them, I swear.
Right. That's it. But when you watch this, and I watched it earlier this afternoon, I thought it was neat that you saw lightning bursts throughout the clouds, but it was clearly a painting. But they lit the clouds occasionally for some lightning, you know? It was pretty cool.
Oh, so I know what happened here. I was just reading an interview with Payun. They did want Chuck Norris to star, and they'd written it as an ex-Army Ranger to be the part if it was going to be Chuck Norris. But then he said, I don't want to do it. And they cast Van Damme. So they changed Gibson's character. And that, for whatever reason, that reduced the character arc that they'd given the over-the-hill ex-Army Ranger. Pretty much reduced it. And they had to come up with this other character arc about the
slinger.
Traumatized by being the family that he'd hooked up with and whatever. And he says, what I remember most from the film was exhaustion. The turnabout from prepping to shoot Spider-Man and Masters 2 to writing and shooting Cyborg was punishing. We had to figure out ways to use what had been built and created for two different films in a short period of time. As I recall, the budget on Cyborg was less than $500,000, including Van Damme's salary.
Wow.
It was
he wasn't a name yet.
Yeah, it was shot in 24 days of principal. And all in all, my expectations were quite low for the film's success given the mad circumstances. Well, given it made $10 million.
I think they had a good turnaround on what they did. Yeah.
And then God knows how much on VHS sales.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Because this is a cult classic. A lot of people have
saw it
seen
on
this.
cable a whole bunch. Like when we finally got cable, like when I was in middle school, I saw this, and I swear there were more cyborgs in it when I watched it the first time. I swear.
I always thought that too. It's weird. We only get one
of those Mandela effects.
Yeah,
I think it's the bad guy's eyes. It makes you think that, that he's a robot.
I first watched it, and I did see it at the cinema in the UK back in the day. I thought the Cyborg was going to be the star of the film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
I almost remember that I don't know why I remember Van Damme being the Cyborg, but obviously not. But memory is a weird thing.
It is.
He's a martial arts cyborg.
No, well, we're talking like 30 years though. Like, that was like the mid 90s when I got cable for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
I was 89 this came out. No. I had just gotten out of the Louisiana State National Guard after 3 years and already done 3 years as a military policeman too.
So there's some great, this is an interesting setup here because you saw the matte background shots of them entering Atlanta, but they immediately got a closed set here. Very nicely set up set as well.
This was the Daily Bugle, like the New York street that they reused, gutted it. You can see storefronts and stuff behind it. But this was originally built so that they could have Spider-Man on a crane swinging through it.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, they flooded it and filled it with trash and spray painted all over everything to make it look less like your little quaint New York City brownstone like street.
Yeah, that's I didn't know that. So that's what this set was. That's interesting because this is a nice set. Vincent Klein's dark eyes naturally, but the colored contact lenses were a cheap but good effect. But it did. I'm pretty sure he says something about the world and hit us cyborgs at some point, something like that. I may be wrong, but how long do people pause when Jean-Claude's cheeks are on screen? You know,
Davina and was talking about that earlier.
But this whole sequence with the multiple fights, some of it's pretty neat. I mean, this is where you get to see a lot of the sort of lesser cast. I say lesser, I mean smaller parts. Jackson Rock Pinkney, who's the big black guy. You've got Ralph Mueller at one point in the movie, who is, I think he played the big guy in Gladiator, the big German barbarian gladiator.
Okay.
He's in the movie. You see him at one point. There's some pretty good fighter, you know, they cast some of those guys really well. They look the part. I noticed though, Haley, the girl, this was her one and only film.
Huh.
So I guess she had one taste of low budget movie making, and that was it.
Yeah. Went into a more sensible career, I'm sure.
Indeed, she's probably became an accountant or a tax advisor or something. This is how not to make movies.
I actually have to run. I am very sorry. I'm having a blast here, but yeah, this is
no worries, mate. I know you got a lot of other shows and things to go.
Deadline. It's a crazy week for me.
Yeah, and well, good luck with what's happening later in the week. I know you got some stuff.
Thanks. Thank you. Fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly.
I know it's late, but good to see you, Austin.
Yeah, great. Yeah, great to see you. Good talking to all you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you got any? I know you got Russia. You got anything you want to plug particularly, other than the books that we mentioned earlier? Or
I guess the one thing is, if anybody's near Central Pennsylvania, I am doing a Canon night at all night Canon movies at the Mahoning Drive-In in Laheyton, PA.
Ooh,
yeah.
So jealous. Wow.
Dusk Till Dawn. 35 millimeter everything. We're doing American Ninja, Masters of the Universe, Break-In, and Kinjite Forbidden Subjects. So
wow,
it's going to be an 8-hour, just a blast. But I'll be introing movies.
Talk about a blast from the past. That would be awesome to see.
Central PA. What's the name of the town?
August 12th. It's the Mahoning Drive-In in Central Pennsylvania. It's an awesome place. If you haven't been there, they do nothing but 35 millimeter. They do so many great programs. Last year I was there for Action Fest, and they had a night of Walter Hill movies. I introed 35 millimeter prints of Ninja 3 and Kickboxer there. It's just awesome place. Great time if you even if it's not for when I'm there. Like if you're ever in that area, you should check what they're programming that weekend, because it's
a drive-in.
Yeah, one of the coolest places to watch movies I've ever been.
God, I wish
it's 5 hours for me, and I'll go out there for that just to see, like, for their cool shows. They
I wish I could go to that, mate. But yeah, check that out, everybody, if you get the chance. If you're anywhere near Central PA, that sounds like a lot of fun.
August 12th, and say hello.
August 12th, yeah, and thanks again for being here, Austin. It's an absolute honor and pleasure for us. It's always great to hang out with you, buddy, and I hope we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Yes, fingers crossed. I hope to be there.
Yeah, take care. Have a great night, mate.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Later.
Like drive-ins, like my neighborhood where we live now used to be the middle of nowhere, and like right at the back of our neighborhood is where there used to be a drive-in. Like it's still empty. I mean, it's like overgrown, like crap, but there used to be a drive-in there, and I miss it.
It's such a shame that most of them are gone. I know there's one or two in Canada that I always wanted to go to. They're still around.
Friend of mine says there's one in San Antonio. The one I had here that I went to, they turned a tornado ripped that thing up, and they put them all there.
So a tornado ate ours too.
Mm-hmm.
But
tornadoes love driving in
my area, maybe too.
But that's where our local 10plex is where the drive-in used to be. So.
Yeah, it's a shame. I believe back in the day they were. I've never been to one. I've always wanted to go because they're not common.
Oh man,
I believe it was the thing to do. Yeah.
My most memorable birthday, other than the one when I got my signed Steve Largent jersey, would have been my 12th birthday, 1977. Me and all my friends and our Star Wars toys. My dad took us to see Star Wars at the drive-in. Yep. Oh man, it was a blast. Yeah,
I saw some absolutely classic movies in the drive-in as a kid.
Yep.
Yeah,
Jedi,
I saw.
it was either Empire or Jedi. I saw it at drive-in. Raiders, I saw it at drive-in. RoboCop, I saw it at drive-in.
I saw a double bill of Star Wars and Logan's Run.
Wow.
Oh,
Now that's
nice.
a double feature right
And
there.
I got to watch it twice because my parents fell asleep. And I didn't wake them up.
Smart man.
It's
That's
2 o'clock in the
awesome.
morning. They find, that when they're done, we woke them up. But
I'd just like to say goodbye to Oakley Vandal. Thanks for being here, mate. Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, that would have been that's always the way. Just leave them
yeah.
So Logan's Run, I met the author at a party in Vegas. He's now since passed away a couple years ago, but he was an old guy, and he came up to me and started talking to me. I didn't know who he was. And then when he introduced himself, told me who he was, and I was like, holy shit. That was cool. But yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Wow. Yeah, so just nearing the end of the movie, you know damn well when you think he's killed the bad guy.
Oh yeah, every one of these shows had the Terminator moment.
You know damn well he ain't dead.
No, every one of them did back then. Yep.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more to go. I mean, again, the villain was kicking the shit out of Van Damme until almost the end of that fight.
Yep.
Which is, he didn't make him look good. He just took an opportunity to strike back and got him. And but this bit was good. You had him on the hook.
Yeah, wow. You only had one slide of this because he kicked his ass for a minute. He kept slamming him against that wall. It took about 3 or 4 times for him to hit the hook. Yep.
I thought maybe he's going to come back from that too, and we're going to get yet another
right.
Nah,
he was done.
I mean, given she's got a nice ass for a cyborg, though, you have to say.
Yeah.
She did do the Playboy spread, which I've never looked up. I can assure you.
Wow.
In researching this, I never looked that up.
No.
Somehow I don't believe you.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is the game The Last of Us had borrowed the color palette from this movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, it does have that storyline too of a man and a girl, albeit Nadie's not a girl, traveling through the wilderness trying to find a plague cure. Yeah. So there's a touch of that. Now Nadie's dead here.
Yeah, that I thought
surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised me too. I thought it's always a happy ending in the 80s, isn't it? But no, this is a little bit more hard hitting, a little more realistic. Yeah.
But now he's got the Haley. He's reunited with Haley, who's going to go with him, and so he has a daughter now.
Right.
In a sense. Nice little effective in shot. But this pair are heading back into the Fallout vault, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the Fallout. It's like Fallout almost.
And that is the end. You see the door close, and it's
and that's
the
it.
credits roll.
82 minutes of pulsating action.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hide that on the screen. There we go. So I'm gonna now. We had a poll running all in the whole time the chat was on. We've had a poll running for your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme canon movie. We're gonna end that poll. So you've missed your chance if you didn't do it. We got 58 votes. Pretty damn good, I have to say.
Yeah.
So let's check in on that poll. I don't think it shows it on the chat to display, so I will have to copy it and paste it in.
It says Bloodsport was 46, Cyborg 25.
There we go. So thanks to everyone that voted. Your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme canon movie, Bloodsport wins 46%.
Bloodsport,
that's the one I voted for.
That would be mine too.
Almost double from Cyborg at 25%. Kickboxer 13%, but the dancing and breaking, the dance sequence and breaking gets 13%. A fair showing, I think, for such a wonderful sequence. It's very noticeable.
Man, the unitard. Oof.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
it is a killer. Yeah, the Unitar. Not many people can make that look good, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is not one of them.
Nope.
I hate it when wrestlers wear that. Wow, it drives me up the wall. I'm like, dude.
So Davina, do you want Bloodsport? You think is the best script? It certainly is a good story, Bloodsport, and it is beautifully filmed, and it's got that.
Well, it's
Hong Kong
loosely based
feel.
on a real guy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's got that Hong
that guy
Kong
was
action
also
feel.
Frank Dux. Yeah, and he was not as honest as he could have been about his adventures.
Sure,
right.
But it still made a good story then.
Like I said, loosely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't Bloodsport get filmed in that part of Hong Kong, which was very difficult to get into? It was a very poor area. I can't remember the name of it.
Kowloon City.
Kowloon City. So they actually filmed in the real Kowloon City, which gave it a great deal of verite. If you can put it
I just remember about that movie, the final boss was huge. That guy, I did not know they made Orientals that big. It was amazing. And then the other thing I remember about it is Ogre's in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. He's in it.
Right,
yeah.
Well, let's
American buddy. Yeah.
Well,
Cavatino, you can't mention things like this without showing photographic proof. So please provide that in the chat, and we'll show it.
The thing about that bad guy from Bloodsport, Joe, is he was known as the Chinese Hercules.
Yeah. Oof. God, that guy's massive.
He was in Enter the Dragon too.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of Hong Kong movies, and he's always been jacked.
Yeah.
Always.
Wow.
He's still around too.
Yeah, and he's still relatively jacked.
Yeah, his son is an actor, I think.
Really?
I saw something about it.
So Bolo Young's getting mentioned, and his son is an actor too. Bolo Young, if that's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
His son's in. His son is in The Last Kumite, which is a independent martial arts movie that I've supported. And John, you and I were on the stream with Sean Davis, the writer producer.
Yeah,
so
that's
his
where I
son's
got
in
it
it
from.
Yeah, his son's in it. So I wanted to so somebody it was Davina is the Encyclopedia YouTubia.
Yes.
The Kowloon walled city, Forbidden City, was demolished and no longer exists, which makes it even better that there's that footage in Bloodsport of it. It's really neat.
Yeah.
Kronos was asking, have we ever done Braveheart? No, and I wouldn't be against doing it, but I think if I was going to do a Scottish theme movie, I'd probably do Highlander first.
There you go.
Just because it's more fun.
You got to remember, Ryan is a big science fiction nerd, so he's going to do something that leans towards the science fiction first.
And we'd only be doing the one and only Highlander movie.
Yep.
Not any other.
There is only one Highlander movie.
There is.
I know the girls like the TV series and everything, but there's only one Highlander movie.
Yeah. So thanks for voting in that poll, everybody. Bloodsport. We'll probably do Bloodsport one day. I know Nick did it on Toxic Tuesday, so I was not keen not to repeat too soon. But a year or two from now, you never know. There is a list
of a year anyway.
There's a list of canon films that we're going to do, which I'm considering. So we'll see about next month. We'll do another canon. So gentlemen, thank you for being here as always and for your support. Anything in particular any of you want to plug?
Nah, it's all about you on your show, man. They can go to my channel and see what I do weekly.
Well, please everyone go subscribe to these guys and watch their. I mean, Joe does these great sketching stuff live, and as a man who has no artistic talent, I always find that fascinating.
You're fixing to see a lot more detail in it too, because I'm going back to issue 1. We've got a craft show this weekend, which I'm going to broadcast live from. But next Saturday, I'll go back to issue 1 and start doing the details on all the panels. So
cool.
We're going to get this thing cranked out.
Yeah, which is the Privateer, of course, which we should plug for Joe. Yeah, it's Privateer you're doing.
Only thing I got coming up, I can't even really fully plug because I don't know when exactly I'm doing it. And that's on my week of vacation. And Joe, I'm going to be sending you an invite for this. My normal Comics with Curmudgeon stream is changing to Comics with Cocktails for a night.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, well, Doc, that's pretty much my co-host at this point, made a comment how it just felt like it was a bunch of guys hanging out at a bar talking comics. I'm like, he's like, oh, we're just missing the drinks. I'm like, we'll change that.
Well, then you need a bartender. I'm here. I will show up with my bottle of Jack Daniels and my virus of unknown origin, like I do on my video game streams. So yeah, hell yeah.
I'll let you know when that is. I'm still putting together the guests and the day and everything.
Cool.
And I'm planning on coming back to streaming next Tuesday.
Yes.
So, right, mate.
The long-awaited return of Das Wolf.
Indeed. We've been waiting for this. I've been
Yeah,
waiting for a stream like you come into my life.
I've been waiting.
Yeah, I'll be doing part 2 of the Showa era Godzilla movies.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Go check out his first video on it, man. It's great. Yes, absolutely.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Look forward to that. That's on the Das Wolfen channel, as well as all the stuff you do in Pop Culture Minefield, of course.
Oh yeah. I practically live over there, so
yeah. Dustin, my friend, I know you always got a lot of good things going on in Keto Simple. What, you're up to about 7K subscribers now? Or?
I am just over like 35, 50, 35.
Oh, I thought you were a bit more than that. Yeah. No, good stuff.
I'll be on Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night with you, Invasion USA, and then on Wednesday I'm doing a live stream on a keto channel, Mike's Ketorific Journey. I don't know. I think he may be having me simulcast it onto my channel too. I'm not sure how that works, but I guess we'll figure that out.
Cool.
And you can see if you look at my channel how slacking I've been in releasing videos. So yeah, I need to kick in the ass and do more stuff.
Look forward to it.
I think I got you beat on that one, bud.
Well, look forward to that, mate. We can all sing this one together. Oh no, they say he's got to go. Go Godzilla.
Yep. It's a great song.
Yeah. Well, yeah, subscribe to all these great guys' channels. As for me, I will be on Toxic. Well, I'm going to see Mission Impossible 7 tomorrow, a rare outing to go to see a movie, and then I'll maybe be back in time for Midnight's Edge after dark, and then I will definitely be on Toxic Tuesday, though, where we're doing Invasion USA Thursday 1 p.m. my time, not Thursday morning. I'm going to host a show for the Rock and Roll Rowdies on their YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to try and help those guys get a regular live show going, because that's what they need to.
Yeah, those guys are great.
So that will be a lot of fun. I'll post a lot of info about that on Twitter and on my community page once we get the stream set up tomorrow. First few weeks might just be there with those guys chatting, and then we're going to try and move on to specific bands, topics, and try and get some artists on it, and we'll see how that goes. 1 p.m. Mountain Time, my time on the Rock and Roll Rowdies YouTube channel. We'll try and get those guys over 500. They're up to 487 right now. And then I'll be doing a bunch of stuff later in the week as usual. Friday Night Loki show if he does it. Cotton Council on Saturday. Culture After Dark Sunday. The show that never ends. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. The culture show on Sunday.
Come inside. What's up?
But for future, it's only Talk and Rolls or Monday shows on my channel. Next week, it's going to be yet to just quite finalize it to set it up. It's going to be a guy called Peter Davison. Let me tell you about this guy, if I can. Hang on. Forgive me while I look up something. Peter Donovan, sorry, I said Davison. So Peter Donovan is going to be my guest. He's a road manager, roadie, and guitar tech who has worked with bands extensively like Jethro Tull. He's done stuff with Black Sabbath, where he's Tony Iommi's guitar tech.
Nice.
Judas Priest.
There you go.
There's a shit ton of stuff he's done, and he's done some great quirky stuff as well. It's not all just been heavy rock. So he's going to be the guest next week. That'll be a lot of fun. Particularly looking forward to talking about it's Jethro Tull through the 80s into the 90s is his era. So that'll be interesting. And
So the era when Jethro Tull won Best Heavy Metal Album.
That's the one. So that will be a fascinating discussion. There's also, I think the week after that, we're going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a show with Anthony Garcia, who's Kerry Smith's husband.
Okay.
Who's a musician. So we're going to talk about his music and we play some of that.
Cool.
Which is, it'd be nice to have an independent music artist on and be able to play some music, hopefully without any copyright issues.
Right? The guy's right there in the room. If you get copyright struck, then you're like, wow, wait a minute.
Talk about his career.
Right?
And then I think the week after that, we may well do a cult comedy crew where we'll talk about SCTV. So
Second City Television. There you go. Now I'll be there for that one. I wouldn't want it for the
Dr.
British one, but I'll be there for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
a Canadian Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Saturday Night. So that's the tentative plan for the next 3 weeks. I am working on other stuff which will hopefully come to fruition as well. But yeah, there are things happening, which is good. So thank you everyone for your support. I'd like to thank everyone in the chat today. You've been magnificent. We had a whole bunch of people here. D-Bud was modding, as was Davina, and I think a couple of the people in the panel too. Too many people that I'll forget people. I know I will. Real Wade Gaming Nation, Kronos, you've been chatting away like crazy. Cavatino, Jacob Ironside. We had call out any names for me.
Was it RJ
Godzilla 81?
Yeah.
Blair de Blair was here right from the start. FKHC 2005. Oakley Vandal, who had to leave but had some fantastic stuff to say. I know
this guy named Streamlab's been posting up.
Streamlabs is one of my great friends, and he's posted up a storm.
Did you mention Real Wade Nation? He's out there.
I did mention Real Wade Nation, but we can mention him twice. Yep. There were many others way back, and forgive me if I missed them, but you know who you are. Tim's Talk was here, yeah. All great supporters here all the time. Absolutely appreciate it. It humbles me to think people want to spend a couple of hours of their valuable time hanging out with me, and that includes you guys as well. So,
well, it's because we're the Glass Half Full crew. We're not hating on something. We're digging on something.
We're digging it. We're having fun. It's so great.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks guys for being here. Thank you everyone in the chat. We had a great show today. A lot of views. Please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Pop over to Rumble and subscribe on there too for me, because I'm up to 112 followers on Rumble, and I do.
Yeah, it's hard to get followers over there, man. I've only got 20.
I got 112, and I'm doing some stuff just on Rumble, so look out for more of that, and I'll invite you guys when it's something I think you're interested in. So. Cool. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. I will definitely see you all somewhere tomorrow, I hope. So until then, keep on rocking and stay well. We love you all. Thanks.